Hey guys, my name is Katie Abbott and this is my presentation. So I want to start off with like a little introduction. So I want to give a little background on what led me to applying for Fellows. So I'm originally from Alpharetta, Georgia, right there. I usually tell people Atlanta, and when I tell them Alpharetta, that's like, no way, Atlanta. But like people from like the suburbs of Atlanta know what I'm talking about. So I graduated from Berry College in 2023 with a degree in biochemistry and a minor in biology. And all my life I wanted to be a doctor. Already had it planned out. Had like when I was going to graduate, when I was going to like start a family, my whole life planned out. Until senior year of college when kind of rubber hit the road where I had to decide, okay, so what does applying for med school actually look like? And I was starting the study for the MCAT and I realized that I was not excited about med school. I was like, I had a dread in my heart of thinking I was going to be applying and going into school for 4 years and going to residency for 4 years and then fellowship for 2 years. I'm like, I'm gonna be like 35. And I'm like, I'm not really even excited about this. So February of my senior year, I decided that I was just not going to do med school right now. I was like, I'm going to take a little break and then figure out if this is what I really want to do. Because I feel like this is a really big decision. I have to figure out like if the Lord's actually calling me to this. So funny enough, the next week, Barry had a career fair and Jonathan had a little booth there. And I was like, perfect. And it was, what drew me in was the merch. They had free pins and stickers, and I'm like, that looks really professional, and like, I want that. So I was talking to him, and he was talking to me about the program, and it was basically a gap year program where I didn't have to decide anything about my life for a year, and I got a free job and free friends. So I was like, heck yeah, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. It felt like it was just like an easy way to like slide into life without any real challenges or hardships. So I decided to do Fellows, and what I thought about going into this program, I expected kind of a perfect answer to Christian community, perfectly planned out future. Everything is just exactly the way I was going to frame it. And it turns out that that is not what the Lord had in store for me. And before I start, I want to talk about how this presentation doesn't seem like it's a straight line. I'll be jumping back from like different months and me realizing different things because only upon reflection I've been able to figure out where the Lord has guided me. It's definitely not been a straight line, but only upon this reflection I'm able to see how the Lord has intertwined everything together. So I'm going to start out with structuring it as faith, community, vocation, and then civic engagement, and how my expectations going into Fellows, and then what I learned in Fellows, and then upon reflection, how I brought it all together. So little did I know the Lord was placing me where I did not want to be, yet he grew me in unimaginable ways. I did not notice it on the moment, but I could see where the Lord has been guiding me. I really resisted change, and everybody has witnessed the softening of my heart over the past 9 months. And in this moment where I've resisted change, he's met me with abounding grace. So I'm gonna deconstruct what I've learned in my faith. So on the left is a picture of our New and Old Testament classes. So basically learning the Bible. I became a Christian my senior year of college, so I didn't really have a background of faith, and I just was coming into it like, well, I'm just going to learn about Jesus, and I don't have anything coming in, I don't have any knowledge coming in, so I basically just wanted to learn about the New Testament because that seems more exciting, and Old Testament just seems like a really, really old book that means nothing to me. Little did I know that those were some of my favorite classes. A few examples of that were how in the book of Exodus, the people of Israel were not saved away, but saved through the waters of redemption. And also with the story of Noah was saved by water and saved by the floods, and he was saved out of that. And Moses and Jesus, in the waters, like new baptism, were given a new identity. So through the trials and the waters, Lord saves you through it, not from it. And I expected to be saved from everything. That's why it was hard for me to step into the trials, because I wanted to be stepping into my little perfected bubble of what I expected for my life. And so those were little things that led me into the trials the Lord had for me in Fellows. Another book that really affected me was Leviticus, on how there's years of both feast and famine. And so I expected just to be gaining all of this good knowledge and just walk away from Fellows without any areas where I could be improved. I just wanted to stack on above what I already called myself as perfection. Now, little did I know, the Lord really changed my heart in a lot of ways. So another thing was I'm worshiping at North Shore Fellowship, and that has been a very revolutionary experience, because when I came to North Shore, I've never been to a Presbyterian church. I didn't know what that meant. I expected from my church back home was like big performance, especially for worship, and just like everybody's amped up and moving and like waving their hands, and I'm like, this gives me so much energy where I don't have to like really participate into the service, but like all the energy was expelled for me. But for North Shore Fellowship, during worship, I didn't know any of the songs. They were like hymns. I think that's what they're called. I didn't know what they were, so like it was me saying the words, and I'm like, I just don't know how the rhythm goes, and like no one's moving. They might be going like this, and I'm like, what is the purpose of this? This is not church. Little did I know that the more the Lord was softening my heart of like what a church means, and it's more than the performance aspect. It's more of learning who you are and your connection with God and the people in the church. And I've really learned that a really sweet moment was when our worship pastor, Michael, came to me one time, and he told me that he really appreciated me singing. And he was like, it just moves my heart so much to see you singing along with the rest of the congregation, because I don't see a lot of people that are as into it as you, and it just really means a lot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he like saw me? I was like, he saw me sing. I was like all the way back there, and he noticed me, which meant a lot, and that just speaks to how deep the community is at North Shore, and it's just been so sweet for me. And also, I've been able to worship on this stage. I was called to start worship with Sylvia and for our youth group, which I did not feel like I was at all prepared for and worthy to do, but the Lord really met me in that, and it was just really sweet because it was not high stakes at all. Like the kids, like they might sing, they might talk, but I was really amped up about it, and it was a really sweet time of not having expectations going into it, but yet the Lord meeting me there, and then just witnessing and experiencing His full of grace. And then the last picture here is of the most beautiful retreat. It was our creation retreat, and this was when we were tasked to be in silence for 2 hours. I hate silence so much, so I realized in this time of silence that I strive so much to have distraction and so much going on around me, so I don't have to think about my life and reflect. Because I want other people to tell me like what I need to do rather than introspection. And so, let's see. And so in this time of reflection, I realized that in this stillness that I'm enough. Like I don't have to strive to achieve anything. I'm enough who I am. And that was really impactful because I always feel like I have to strive to achieve. And yet the achievements that I'm trying to strive for are never enough, and they're never going to fulfill me because I'm always looking for more and I'm hungry for more. And this time of rest I was able to just sit back and rest in my belovedness. And so my expectation coming in the Fellows is that I would discover my new identity. I threw away medical school, so I was expecting to like get something brand new, perfect, a salary, and just another 20 years of my life that was already given to me. And I thought discovering my new identity means I'll find a new purpose for my life rather than recognizing the person he's already created me to be. And I wanted to start to rewrite a new story for me rather than recognizing the story he's already put me through. And so, experience of gaining new identities, it was funny because we were like throwing around superlatives for the year, and Evan told me, I think Katie's the one that's like most likely to change her life perspective, what she wants for her life after every meeting she goes to. Because after every meeting, I'm like, guys, I'm going to become a laboratory scientist, or I'm going to start a master's program, or I'm becoming, I was fully dedicated and committed to this one step. I'm like, this is the answer to all my plans. And it turned out that it would never measure up. And so the new identity that I ultimately adopted was I want to go to medical school. And then I feel like my striving to find this new identity was to quiet my voices inside my head of my self-worth. For I was striving to prove that I'm worth something, whether through accolades in college or a desirable new identity. Every new identity was matched with an eventual discontentment, like I was talking about, that it was never enough, because I was searching and begging for affirmation from others. And so this actually happened recently. It was before one of our dinners, and I was telling my Ralston my new plan for my life, and it was beautiful. And he said, instead of his excitement for me, he said, I want you to be careful because you're so easily swayed by all of these meetings, and I just want you to know that you're acquiring so much damage because you're being hurt by all of these people that are trying to tell you things that that's not in the Lord's plan for you. And I was reminded of James 1:6, which says, but let him ask in faith with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave in the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. And I doubted my self-worth and identity, and that every wave that crushed even harder upon my soul. So every meeting and every new identity I was trying to achieve was just never enough, and it kept on crushing on my soul. And I was left emptier than when I started. And so I've discovered recently the missing piece is where I've been searching for my identity. I've been trying to search for my identity in all of these people rather than searching my identity that the Lord gives me. And through my time of solitude, especially during the retreat, I realized that my belovedness comes from the Lord, and that I'm already enough and I don't have to strive for all these achievements. But the Lord just calls me his beloved, and I'm enough the way I am. And so there's a book that really impacted me called Liturgy of the Ordinary, and the author says, I work to build my own blessedness, to strive for a self-made belovedness. My works and worship don't enter thing. Instead, they flow from God's love, gift, and work on my behalf. I'm loved by God, not by my effort, but because of what Christ did on my behalf. I now have a firm understanding of where my identity lies, where it does not lie in my accomplishments or my desired profession, but I have freedom that's anchored in claiming my identity that I'm beloved. And so when I've been able to discover my belovedness, I can see the belovedness of other people, and that calls forth my next slide, which is community. So my community has been honestly one of my favorite parts of Fellows. This is little Ella one. I love seeing her grow up and just to being with the most gracious family ever, the Royas. It's been so great to, the first day of Fellows, I was introduced to all their friends, their family. I went to 3 different Labor Day parties, and I'm like, is this what life is gonna be like? It was like the life of being a Roya was just so filling, and it was just so sweet to have all the generosity of all their friends and all their family take me in. It's oh, try this food, or do this, and it was just really sweet. Another example is community dinners. I love food, and I love just feasting over food as well as stories, and that was just a really sweet time to hear about people in our community and what their journeys of life have been like. It has not been linear. People that are 30 have had 4 different jobs, which is crazy to me because I'm don't you just have one job you do for your entire life? And that hasn't been the case for any of our community dinners, which has been really impactful. this is us at Need Loves when we gave stories and we predicted each other's lives. And so Ryan actually said that the girls were telling each other what we wanted to hear. I was married and I lived in Wake Forest, and I had this mansion, and Ryan was ruler of the underworld and was on the run for like murder or something. So it's just funny how girls tell each other what we want to hear. But it's okay. Another point. I found really great community and friends here. So obviously all the fellows, and I found more friends in one of our previous fellows, Gracie, and her housemates. It's been really sweet, them inviting us into their home. And we actually went on a camping trip, which was super fun. And it felt like college again. I was striving for a perfect community, and the Lord just placed it in front of me without me trying or having any effort. And so what I expected in the fellows has the perfect community, but I was really wary of community because I've been hurt a lot in the past of what does it mean to depend on friends. And I would, the moment that I decided that I had my need for community was actually hitting absolute rock bottom during my knee surgery. So I was so scared of depending on other people for my happiness and for them to determine my belovedness for me, that I just decided to just do it all myself. And so during my knee surgery, I decided I don't need anyone. I don't need any help, and you can imagine how that went. Like I was hungry, I was in pain. I tried to shuffle to get like a pair of socks because I was cold, and I didn't want to ask for anyone's help because I wanted to be. I didn't want to be dependent on anyone because I felt like being dependent was bad. Because I was looking for it to fulfill all of my love that only God could give me. And so, honestly, it's funny how God met me in this moment to instill in me something that my director said like over and over and over again, that it's healthy to have a dependence on community. And it never really hit me until recently of how important community is, but first knowing your belovedness first in God. Because you don't look for that belovedness in friends. So you're able to forgive them for their faults because my expectations of them were too high. I was able to forgive them for their faults and then see their humanity and what they could give me, and as well as discovering my own brokenness, which has been very helpful. And when able to see and celebrate other people's gifts, I'm able to stand in awe of how each of us are just made so differently. I'm reminded of 1 Corinthians 12 that describes how we are joined as different parts of the body. Alongside beauty and celebrating others' gifts, I was able to accept each other's humanity and just see the beauty in each of us. Because it's just crazy where the Lord places us and how much we're able to gain from that. So my next trial was my vocation. I came into Fellows wanting a perfect job to give me clinical hours so I can easily slide into med school. And it turns out that I was following what the culture views as the correct steps towards med school, and it's actually what the Lord planned for me. He had something that's much greater and fulfilled me much more than I could ever imagine. So I wrote a blog post on how I've learned through my vocation of accepting like where the God has me and knowing that there's dignity in the work I'm doing. So this is a little quote from my experience there. And so this is some of my staff, and I think honestly one of the best parts of LifeSpring Pediatrics is the community that I have. They've accepted me, and they have taught me so much more than working as administrative assistant, but improving as a person, improving as a friend, improving as a coworker. And so when I reflect back on my time at LifeSpring, I think that what has impacted me the most is honestly what happened the first day of when I was at work. I had one of my coworkers, Teddy, which is the director, and he basically told me what I needed here, and I wish I listened to him then because it would have made it so much easier. But he said, like, the Lord places you in like a job placement for a reason, and it's not that that's going to change your entire plan of your life. Like, you can't change God's plan for your life, and it's not that black and white, because I had a black and white thinking of, if I don't do this, then I'm never going to med school and I ruin his plan for me. But it's actually so much richer than that. And knowing that I need to keep open hands, because I had all these expectations for myself for a perfect year, and they weren't met the way I expected. But it was just so much of a richer experience that I wouldn't honestly give for anything. And I've loved my time at LifeSpring, and I plan on to continue volunteering there, and just continuing the relationships with the people I've met. So last slide is civic engagement. We've been visiting a lot of different nonprofits this year. CSM, there's Stefan teaching us about like his nonprofit, and then Gaining Ground was really cool. And so the cool part about Chattanooga is that I felt like I have learned more about the city in the last 9 months than I have anywhere else I've lived. So I've lived in Atlanta for about 20 years. I don't know it as well as Chattanooga. It's so crazy on how once you get involved with the city, especially through these nonprofits, you're able to see all the different ways that the gospel has their beauty in all these unexpected places, and how much need there is. And I wouldn't know if I didn't step into those places. So I'm very thankful for Fellows to show me that. And let's see. Through the recognizing my relationship with God and our relationship with our community, I've been able to see the work that He's done in me so I can minister to others. I have gratitude now for my journey, which helps others become more grateful for the life they've been through and the pain they've had. And it's taught me how to be compassionate with others, to live with others who suffer. For my joy and identity is now in Jesus. And so I want to conclude with my favorite artist of all time, Mako Fujimura. There's this artwork called Kintsugi, and it's taking this broken vessel or a broken pot and mend it together with gold. And I want to parallel this with how God has been forming me over the past 9 months. This method demonstrates the paradox of destruction and new creation. And the good news begins with our awareness of our brokenness. And through the last 9 months, with finally becoming open hands and accepting that like God's plan is different than what I expected, I've been able to find my identity and know my belovedness in the Lord and see the beauty of other people, and therefore witness like what areas of my life that are broken. And becoming refined in these trials, I'm able to appreciate life more and see where the Lord's leading me next. And I started this program filled with so much pride, and I resisted any changes to the plan I had made for myself. However, it's practically through this brokenness and these fissures that God's grace can shine through. Christ came not to fix us, but not to restore, but to make us a new creation, where we partake in the co-creation of the new through brokenness and pain. So what now? What am I going to do now? I want to stay in Chattanooga. I'm going to take the MCAT this summer, so I'm still pursuing med school, and apply for a job at Erlanger Hospital. And I am so grateful for the time that I've had here in Chattanooga. I've learned that when I'm living and walking with the Lord and deciding in His faithfulness, the things that I think are a big deal don't turn out to be a big deal from the Lord. That comes from Roger Piersont, and that honestly I have a peace that I have an unearthly peace for what comes next. It's all unexpected. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing this summer, but I just feel such at peace knowing that the Lord has led me through this wilderness of the past 9 months, and He's provided with so much of His grace and His provision. And honestly, I wouldn't change. I don't know what's next, but I am very comforted in where He has led me and that He'll continue guiding me. And for Life After Fellows, I expect to share and give some of that generosity that was bestowed on me through hosting community dinners and sharing, making room for other people to share their stories, and in times of solitude where I can listen to God's voice instead of the voices that consistently roll inside my head, and be in places where I can uniquely see the beauty of other people who have different lives than me. And so this year has been a crazy, crazy ride, but only upon reflection I'm able to see where God was leading me the entire way. Thank you so much.